So now I'm interviewing George Patton Waters, but you go by Pat, correct?
That's correct.
And how long have you been coming to Pilsen?
I came in 2005 as the guest of the ambassador, my aunt, Mrs. Patton, General Patton's daughter-in-law, suggested I come and see what this was about, and I've come and I keep coming back, and I love it.
And why do you keep coming back? What do you love about it?
Well, I think the people are the extremely interesting part. I like the economics of the Czech Republic. I think the fact that it's 20 years out of the blocks from communism, and that's really more what I'm interested in, is the study of the growth of the country and the economics, the politics. Of course, the veterans are the extreme, the best reason. I love the people and people who have had a new beginning. I love to visit with people who have a new beginning and have a new outlook on life and have better ideas than probably some of us old state Americans.
And do you find, are there any differences culturally or in mindset that you can identify between the Czechs and the Americans?
Yeah, they're a lot cleaner. They don't litter the highways. No, I think that the Czech mindset is different than the Americans. I think we're not quite as rational as they are. And I think they spend a lot of time making decisions. I think the Czech people, and rightly so, have a hard time trusting one another, as we do in America. We have more, probably have more open relationships than they, as far as friendships go, than they do. I think they're very closed about who are their friends and what they do. But I think that's to be complimented, and it's not a negative. It's a positive.
When you say that the Americans are less rational, does that mean like more emotional, or how do you mean that?
The Americans are less rational?
Is that what you said?
Yeah. No, I don't think the Americans take as long to do things or to figure things out. I think the Czech, when they make a decision, they really made a total decision. The Americans are willing to make a decision and then modify it as it goes along. But I think the Czech's word is, when he gives you his word, you count on it. In America, you wonder about it. That would be what I say. But I think the thing is with the veterans, it's the interaction between the veterans and the Americans. You can see both sides of the spectrum of people trying to figure out what's right, and the Americans trying to understand the Czechs and the Czechs the Americans. And I just like it. It helps me develop my maturity as far as making decisions and economic.
Do you have anything you can tell us about your grandfather? Obviously, people here identify you with your grandfather. And what do you want to tell us about him? Do you remember him?
Well, I remember my grandfather, but I think the big thing about my grandfather is these people realize that they look to him as the liberator, but they overlook the fact that their people, the Czechoslovakian soldiers, fought just as hard as the American soldiers. And I go back to the issue that our American soldiers came here, and they had been fighting a war, live or die for 4 years. And the war was over. They liberated the Czechoslovakians. 2 years later, the Czechoslovakians were thrown back into communism. And then 40 years later, they came out into a new world. And I just think that I don't know where I'm going with this, but the Czechoslovakian, to me, is just a unique person, because he's just got his freedom and he's just starting, and it's so great to watch them mature with that. But as to General Patton's thing, he had soldiers that were totally dedicated, of which you've met many tonight, but the Czechs had the same dedication of people, and I think together they beat the tyrannous forces of the Axis of the German Nazis, and that they this wasn't just General Patton's victory. This was General Pierce, Colonel Noble's, and Private Jones. Everybody won this victory here in town. So it wasn't just General Patton. And I think it's nice the way they honor me representing General Patton, and I'm totally humbled by it. But it's just it's an honor that I don't deserve, but I'm willing to represent the Patton family, and I tell the Patton family and I tell America that there's some people over here that still care. And that's why I love it.
Okay, some people refer to the veterans as the greatest generation. What do you think? What have you learned from these guys that you've met and spent time with over the last 5 years? Do you think that's an appropriate term for them?
Yeah, of course. I think the greatest generation, yeah, they were the last persons really involved in a total warfare. They were in, as General Patton would say, the greatest sport of life, which is war. And it was a live or die matter. So, yeah, they're the greatest generation. They brought freedom to the world. And now we've piecemealed it away. And we're not the greatest generation because we're giving it back. We're giving freedom back. And I still say that, you know, the Czechs exercises what I believe is courage, sacrifice, and commitment. And that's a quality you don't find in many countries. But each person you meet over here they've got the courage to go forward, they've got the commitment to their country, and they're willing to make a sacrifice for their country, whether it's in the church or on the street working as a street vendor. They exemplify what a true person who loves freedom is. Yes.
Okay, and you have some background in the military yourself, correct? And tell me a little bit about that.
I went in the Navy for 5 years, but my thing was I'd rather follow a star than dig a hole. So I chose the Navy for 5 years and served. I served in Vietnam, and I served in shore bombardment, electronic intelligence. And I was not in a combat as these gentlemen have been. The things we did over there, we really don't know what we did. We just did what we were told to do, and we did our job and we did our duty. And we didn't win the war, though. And I'm proud to be an American, but I'm disappointed that we pulled out on another country that was very similar to the Czech people that we could have saved, and we didn't.
So what would your advice be to, or maybe that's too strong a term, what would you like to say to young people who might see this presentation? What would you like them to hear from your heart?
Follow your dream. If you want something, you can get it. If it's big, just think big. And if it's way out, just go way out after it. Never give up, and stick with those principles of courage and sacrifice and patriotism. Believe in your country, believe in your higher power, and just go for it.
All right. Thank you.